I'm going to try to keep this short and to the point. I mean, I don't have much of a capacity to edit a bunch of stuff together and show you clips and stuff like that. So I guess you can always hit the Google up if you want to confirm what I'm saying. But I'm getting a little annoyed with something I see and hear on YouTube frequently in both people's videos and in comment sections when they're talking about Star Trek. And that is either from both looking at it as a positive or a negative light, people describe the Star Trek future as communist, the Federation as communist. It's not communist. Stop calling it communist. Every time you call it communist, you sound like a normie who doesn't know anything. What Star Trek is a post-scarcity constitutional democracy, or at least that's what the Federation within the Star Trek universe is. They have a hierarchy, they have a president, they have institutions, they have a government, they have a military, even though for public relations reasons they do everything they can to paint Starfleet as being an exploratory and scientific body, but it's still their military, even if it's more defensively postured. And that's not communism. Communism and a manifest perfection, global communism with no money, would also have no real government. It'd be a state of stable anarchy. That's why you often see the whole anarcho-communism thing being a thing on the internet. Uh, Everyone's supposed to be autonomous and their own sovereignty at that point, I guess. And it's never going to manifest because you'd have to have the entire planet on board for it. And if the entire planet is ever on board on the same page about anything, that's a bad sign. Either we've been terribly manipulated and are being forced into it, or it's a sign that humans are losing their sentience, at least as individuals, and are moving more towards becoming a mammal species that operates more like a eusocial insect. Neither of those things are anything we want to see in our future. It's a good thing that the planet's all chopped up into hundreds of countries and thousands of individual tribes and ethnicities. This is actually healthy. It keeps us from being able to be driven extinct by all being identical and therefore all vulnerable to identical vectors. So anyway, Star Trek is not communist. The reason they don't have money is because of a technological innovations that are in that setting that are quite possibly outside of our own real world ability to ever get to. They have replicators. They have the ability to directly convert energy into matter and back again. There's no struggle for anything at that point. As long as you're able to manufacture the replicators, you can have whatever you want. You can even build other replicators, larger replicators, be able to replicate giant things. You don't really need to mine for anything except for maybe just the raw mass itself. But it doesn't have. You can turn. It's like with the sorcerer's stone. You can transmute lead into gold kind of stuff, or you can just take raw energy from the cosmos and make a chair or a brand new uniform. It's all possible. Food. It's not that money doesn't even exist. Money's still there in the Star Trek future. It's just there's very little need for it unless you're into that kind of shit or you are interested in engaging in trade with other species and stuff like that who still have economies. And the Federation itself has to have money in order to be able to clear its tabs it has. I mean, in Deep Space Nine, there's a lot of the stuff that goes on with Quark in terms of him bartering back and forth with the station. You get the idea that Starfleet is paying bar tabs on behalf of their officers and whatnot. So in order to be able to do that, there has to be a pool of money. It's just regular average citizens of the Federation don't really need it because you can walk across your room to a little slot and anything you want, you can get out of there pretty much, unless it's bigger than what it's capable of producing out of its bay, in which case you might have to wait a day or two to get it from a larger replicating facility. And I guess for a few things, you might have to fill out some paperwork to show that you actually have a need for something that's particularly dangerous or complicated. But there's no need to pay for it. It's unlimited resources, limited only by the extent of what's attainable and grabbable in the universe. I mean, they're just by the virtue of the fact that they have Bussard collectors on their starships. That means that they're using ram scoops. They're just pulling in free molecules of hydrogen while they're traveling around in space. I mean, they're constantly refueling themselves. That's kind of maybe a flaw with Voyager that they didn't think about that. Anyway, though, I guess just little nitpicky things like that show who the Trekkies are and who the actual science fiction nerds are, because Star Trek is not communist. They're a type 3 or type 4 civilization with some type 5 civilization technology. Replicators, that's huge. That's god level type shit. Well, anyway, I guess leave a comment if you have any thoughts. I guess you're probably going to tell me I'm wrong or something. And hit like and subscribe.